Imagine this, you have just completed the pipe installations on your current project with your colleagues. You've soldered, pressed, laid pipes in all rooms, heating pipes, drinking water, wastewater and even gas. Before you can hand over your work to the client, one thing is missing. You have to check and prove that all your pipes are tight. Today I've brought you two devices from Rotenberger's testing portfolio. Here is the new ROTEST AIR and I also have the GW Professional. What is the difference between the devices and which one fits for you? That's what we'll find out today. Hi, I'm Anthony Haynes. I'm the Product and Training Manager at Rotenberger UK, and today we're going to find out which device suits you. To do this, let's start at the beginning. If you have installed a pipe system, then you need to leak test and prove the system. To do this, you usually have to do two different tests, a load test with high pressure and a leak test over a longer period of time. According to the standard, water was used for this purpose until not so long ago. A hydrostatic test was carried out. The pipe system is filled with water to find a leak. The advantage of this is the water, which is almost incompressible. Because water can hardly be compressed, it can also absorb little storage energy. If you then have a leak, there is a small risk of an explosive pressure drop. The water is simply squeezed out of the leak. However, there are other disadvantages. Often, especially in new construction projects, it happens that new residents do not move in immediately after your work. Therefore, the residual water that remains in the pipe system can cause problems such as corrosion. With contamination, especially so-called Legionella, which can form in stagnant water, this also poses a health risk. Then we have pneumatic testing, testing with air or gas. This offers some advantages in contrast to hydrostatic testing. Because we use air or gas, there is no problem with residual water in the system. It is considered more hygienic. It works without any problems, even at sub-zero temperatures, and is very sensitive. With pneumatic testing, you can find even the smallest of leaks. However, in addition to many advantages, this also offers a disadvantage. Because the air or gas is compressible, it stores a lot of energy if you put high pressure on the line. In the event of a leak, there can therefore be a sudden release of pressure, i.e. a bursting of the leak. So you have to be very careful and adhere to precautionary measures. So let's get back to today's stars of the video, the ROTEST AIR and the GW Professional. Both the ROTEST AIR and the GW Professional are test devices for pneumatic testing, i.e. with air. You probably already thought this when you heard the name ROTEST AIR. With both devices, you can carry out load and leak testing for drinking water, for heating systems and sewage pipes according to European standard. All standards are stored in the GW Professional. The standards for drinking water testing are stored in the ROTEST AIR. And you can enter the specifics for heating systems and sewage pipes manually. During testing, the systems act completely autonomously. After you have connected the devices to your pipe and started the test, both devices automatically build up the required test pressure with an integrated compressor. A sensor in the device monitors the pressure, and if it drops during the adjustment phase, the device builds up to the required pressure. The results of the testing are documented so that you can share them with your customer later. So here we have two pipe systems. I will now connect the ROTEST AIR to one and the GW Professional to the other and start a leak test. Both devices can perform these tests according to the standard, but what is the difference? So each device has a slightly different specialisation. In addition to drinking water, heating and wastewater, the GW Professional can also carry out other tests because of its special certification. This is important because gas pipeline tests may only be carried out with certified equipment. With the GW Professional, you can test pipelines for natural gas and also for liquefied gas. Both a load test and a leak test are possible with the GW Professional. The documentation is either printed out or digitally stored on an SD card, which you can read later. Another distance between the GW Professional and the Rotest Air is the built-in compressor. The compressor of the GW Professional can deliver only 1.5 bar. This is sufficient for most testings and requires little energy. That's why the GW Professional has a built-in battery which can last forever. The Rotest Air has a more powerful compressor installed, which can generate pressure up to 3 bar. That's why the Rotest Air is also powered by a CAS battery. Because the Rotest Air can generate up to 3 bar pressure, you can perform further load tests for drinking water, heating, wastewater without needing an external compressor or pump to build up to the required pressure. We have also further simplified the documentation with the Rotest Air. You can see all the data live within the Rotenberger app or save it on the device and read it out later. The protocol can be created quickly on site or can be created later in bundles for all its inspections. The Rotest Air is the test device you will need almost in everyday life. We asked you and learnt that only about 5 to 10% of all pipes you check are gas pipes. Water pipes make up the majority of your work. The Rotest Air is therefore a testing device that belongs in every installer's car. Let's take another look at what our pipe systems are doing. It seems both lines are tight. With the Rotest Air, I can now create the test report in the app. I can now also create my report with the GW Professional. Rotest Air versus the GW Professional. I hope we were able to explain to you which device is made for which purpose. With the Rotest Air, you can only test water pipes up to 3 bar. With the GW Professional, however, you can test liquefied and natural gas pipelines, which is why it is specially certified, but it only has a compressor that can generate to 1.5 bar. If you have any further questions about the devices, please feel free to write us a comment. We answer them all. We also have a tutorial on the GW Professional, which we have linked to you on the end card. If you like the video, leave us a subscribe or a like there. Until next time, ciao.